Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV today. AEW went back to where it all began, to Chicago, where this whole entire thing was born, and they brought to us a revolution that you have to see to believe with your very eyes. An excellent pay-per-view offering that after the week that was in the WWE and how they decided they wanted to ruin WrestleMania and gave us three completely just god-awful shows, AEW Revolution Saturday night was just what your wrestling soul needs to survive. And we are going to talk about all of it, the good and the bad, right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare, and you are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's AEW Revolution Review and Reaction Show. Let's do it.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
Alright, Sledgeheads, thank you so much once again for checking us out here on the channel. If you are an AEW fan and this is your first time here at Sledgehammer TV checking out an AEW review, you are in for a treat because I review all wrestling equally. There may be things that I'm going to bring to your attention that you did not realize were happening while you were watching AEW Revolution go down tonight, and it was a great show. There are some very minor things we could bring the hammer down on, and they're mostly personal preference. It's not like some of you guys are going to be, oh yeah, you're right, this show sucked. No, that's not what we're doing, but there are just some things that as a wrestling fan with his own personal taste were a little bit much for me. Maybe some things ran just a little bit too long, but for the most part, this show from top to bottom was great. It was full of tremendous wrestling action. It was full of tremendous storytelling. That is what wrestling really is missing. It is the storytelling in the matches. I'm not talking about telling us shit in promos and doing vignettes, which is all great and we all enjoy that. But when you're watching a wrestling match and you are watching a story unfold within the action, within all of the crazy spots, and within all of the tremendous athletic ability that was put on display tonight in almost every single match, you cannot deny that there is nobody telling stories in the ring like these guys at AEW. It's fantastic. Look at that tag team matchup. One of the most dramatic, one of the most intense wrestling matches we have seen in some years, and it is all because of the inner drama surrounding the members of the Elite. Hangman Page and his alcohol addiction, also skirting the lines of the fact that he doesn't want to be part of the Elite anymore. Then you had in this tag team matchup the Young Bucks seemingly working heel. And that was so kind of refreshing, and it was great to be able to see these two who are so over with the diehard Bullet Club indie fan crowd that loves AEW with a fervor and a passion that you heard tonight throughout the almost whole entire show. Seeing them work heel and getting booed, almost booed out of the building. What a difference from the beginning of the match to the end, and for them to be able to do that is just a credit to their talent in the ring and to just how well they are telling the story at hand. It looked many times as if Matt and Nick Jackson did not want to hurt Kenny Omega, but they had no problem taking out their frustrations and putting the target strictly on Hangman's back, especially after Hangman spit in the face of Matt Jackson that just took this match to a whole nother level. Fantastic. All the spots were really great. My criticism of this match, and don't start getting your balls in a twist, let's just listen with open ears, because this match is one of those rare scenarios on this night that I think just went a little bit too long. Too many false finishes. It was like watching The Return of the King. You guys, big fans of The Lord of the Rings, I'm sure you all watched The Return of the King movie that Peter Jackson produced, and it was a great movie. It was entertaining, it was full of action, it was full of twists, but it had too many endings. Had like 6 or 7 different times they could have rolled credits on that movie, and I feel like that's what happened with this match. Once Kenny Omega and Hangman Page hit the buckshot V-trigger on the Young Bucks, that should have been the end of this match. There was really no need for it to extend beyond that. And the only reason I don't care for that is it takes away from the believability. You can't have Kenny Omega take a super kick from Matt Jackson, a super kick from Nick Jackson, a double super kick from both of them, and then a double golden trigger, double V triggers to the face, and kick out. Especially at that point in the match where Kenny Omega was half dead and they were targeting the shoulder that was already injured from his matchup earlier in the week. It was just a little bit too much to suspend my disbelief. And then you have the one-winged angel attempt by Kenny Omega. He can't do it because his shoulder is hurt, but Hangman Page executes it for him and they kick out of the one-winged angel. And then Hangman Page has to hit a buckshot lariat on this guy, a buckshot lariat on that guy in order to get it again. And how many times do you have to hit your finishers? There was about 9 times we've seen the V-trigger. There was too many buckshot lariats. If that's the end of the match, save it for the end of the match. We had the one instance of the Indie Taker being executed by the Young Bucks. What that is it's a tombstone pile driver that is spiked by the partner coming off of the top rope, or in this case, springboarding off of the top rope and executing the Indie Taker on the ramp to Hangman Page, which should have kept him out for the entirety of the rest of the match. It really should have. You're not supposed to get up from things like that. And it was not very well executed, if we're being completely honest, which is what we're doing. But I'm not trying to look for negatives. I'm just pointing out the ones that were obviously there. The match was great. It just went too long. All of those false finishes towards the end, all for it to lead to Omega and Hangman Page retaining the championships, which I did not expect. I thought the Young Bucks were going to take it. I thought we were going to see the turn by Hangman Page tonight, and they did a brilliant spot where they teased that. After all was said and done and the smoke cleared, Kenny Omega shook hands with the Bucks. They invited Hangman Page to come on, let's put this shit aside us, let's squash this beef right now. But Hangman Page declined. He turned around, he was about to leave, and then he turned and positioned himself as if he was going to hit the lariat on Kenny Omega, who is now standing alone in the ring. But when Kenny turned around and kind of caught him, he stopped and was like, come on, Kenny, I'm waiting for you. But there was one moment where there was a glimpse of psycho in the eyes of Hangman Page as he stood there. He almost just went completely blank. Like a demon took over his thought process, and then he shook it out and was like, no, okay, we're not going to do this yet. It was brilliant. It had me on the edge of my seat. That was 3 seconds of time on the TV where I was just like, oh no, here it comes. And then it didn't come. And they are still teasing this. Page and Omega are still your champions. The Bucks did everything they possibly could to survive this matchup. And it was really fun. It was really fun. It is definitely going to be a contender for tag team matchup of the year. The year has just begun. So there is a lot of year to have to play out, and now these very same teams are going to have to top this match as they continue down the road in AEW. So it is, but this match was so good that it just might stand up by the end of the year to being one of the matches of the year. My personal little distastes aside, and if you're a fan of this show, you know this about me. You know that I don't really care for that New Japan no-sell offensive sequence type of shit where guys are just taking super kick and then they deliver a clothesline as if the super kick had absolutely zero effect, and the guy that got hit with the clothesline pops back up and then hits a DDT, and then the guy pops back up and then hits a Hurricane Rana, and all these moves are having no effect, making everybody seem superhuman. And it just needs to be toned down just a little bit. Now I give it a pass here just because it's a pay-per-view, it's a big match, and when you're going to do stuff like that, this is where you're going to do it. But if they start wrestling like this and they start doing things like this on the regular at Dynamite, what are these guys going to have to do? They are going to literally have to kill each other to make one match stand out from the other. But that's my minor criticism with the greatest match on the night, as many of you guys in the poll that we put up earlier this evening, or last evening rather, before we went to bed, I put up a poll asking everybody what your favorite match was going to be, and with a resounding landslide victory, it was the Tag Team Championship match, and it's hard to argue that. But personally, there were two other matches that I thought were at least as good, if not maybe even better, than that tag team matchup. And no, it was not the World Championship matchup, which was very good in and of itself, but it was Darby Allin versus Sammy Guevara, which should have been the match that started off this show. Not Jake Hager versus Dustin Rhodes. We should have had this kicking off the show, because this was your typical high energy, really get the crowd going kind of match. Darby Allin is a megastar. The minute that AEW decides they are going to put a mid-card title into that company, it should go immediately to him. Do not pass go. Do not collect $100. It goes to Darby Allin. Wrap it around his skateboard. Do whatever it is he's got to do, because the guy is over like Rover. He is hot like fire, and the matches he puts on are second to none. This is a guy who personally is on a mission to destroy his own body, just for our amusement. He reminds me a lot of Cactus Jack / Mick Foley, with his risk-taking ability and his just complete disregard for his safety, doing coffin drops and all kinds of crazy maneuvers that would kill the average human being. But for some reason, Darby Allin, maybe he is actually undead. Maybe he is half zombie. I don't know how to explain it to you. This guy almost dies at least 16 times in every match that you watch him in. Sammy Guevara gained a modicum of respect, in my opinion. You know I'm very hard on him because he doesn't fit my stereotypical and my somewhat closed-minded opinion of what, professional wrestlers should look like and what they should be like. And Sammy don't fit my particular profile, but when he puts on matches like we seen tonight with a guy like a Darby Allin, it's hard. It's very hard to shit on him going forward. Now, it is what it is. These guys are proving themselves to me and to the rest of the world every single time I see them. And it's just getting better and better. And the more I get comfortable, the more I get acclimated to this roster, I'm starting to pick and choose my favorites. It's going to become a lot more fun, because AEW is doing things the way wrestling is supposed to be done. And it was great. That was a great match. Another great match on this night. And I can't even believe I'm saying this. And I got to give credit to all of you guys in the comments and all of my sledgeheads that have always maintained and have tried to tell me that I've got to calm down with my criticisms of Orange Cassidy. The freshly squeezed one tonight was put in a match with Pac. And going in, I said to myself that if he does not impress me tonight, he will never impress me. So this was very important to me. I wanted him to go over. I wanted to like him. I want to be with you guys. When you hear the reaction of the AEW faithful, when this man comes out, he's the biggest star in the company and he's done nothing, and I've never been able to wrap my head around why that is. The reaction he gets it's like unbelievable. It's like molten lava dripping from the ceilings of the rafters, and it's uncontainable. And I never understood it. Tonight I get it. Tonight I get it. With his hands in his pockets and all, Orange Cassidy put on one hell of a matchup. It was exactly what it needed to be. We knew Cassidy wasn't going to beat Pac. But in the performance that we seen, you can't tell me, if you are one of the detractors, as I was, of an Orange Cassidy, because I was ignorant. I was not exposed to what he was truly capable of doing. All I've ever seen of him was this Jason Solomon look-alike, this Daniel Bryan clone, standing around with his hand in his pockets, taking dangerous spots, not having the use of his hands, and putting himself and others at great risk for it. But then you watch tonight's match, and you can never say those things again. At least I can't. So I earned a whole lot of respect for Orange Cassidy, and that match was so fun to watch. One of my favorite spots in this match was a spot that I used to really come down and shit on, which is when Orange Cassidy very lazily kicks his opponent with his hands in his pockets, and the crowd goes nuts. Whoa! Whoa! And I'm just like, what the hell? Well, I used to be like that. But the minute Pac kicked him back, I was cracking up. And it went on back and forth a little bit, and the crowd was eating it up alive until Pac was like, enough of this bullshit. Pushes Orange Cassidy down. But then we actually have a match. It wasn't a squash of Orange Cassidy. The guy proved he's a tremendous talent and that he can really do some great things in the ring with or without the use of his hands. He took the loss tonight. He got himself over in that loss. I didn't really care for the Lucha Brothers coming out, and I don't know what they had to do with anything. Just because the best friends were out there, they had to come out and cause some sort of a distraction, which allowed Pac to beat Orange Cassidy as he was not paying attention to Pac at the moment because he had his attention diverted to what was going on outside the ring, which led to Orange Cassidy's loss. Not necessary. I think you didn't need for any of that to happen. Maybe it was just a way to get the Lucha Brothers on the show, but you didn't need to do that. This match was great. It just took away from that, if you ask me. The interference took away from whatever the guys were doing. But at the end of the day, great match between those two guys. Fantastic. And it put Orange Cassidy on the map for me. It definitely did. I had zero reason to be excited about this guy, but going forward, I definitely want to see more. And that's what you're supposed to do. And now I get it. It was a very long, slow burn. They made us wait a whole long time to see what this guy can do. But was it worth the wait? Absolutely. I'm going to wake up and have a glass of orange juice in the morning. Just for Mr. Orange Cassidy. Good stuff. Those were my favorite matches of the night, including the tag team matchup. The rest of the show, we can criticize a little bit. Jake Hager versus Dustin Rhodes. It was what it needed to be. It was kind of like a hoss fight. It got a little tense at times, but it was very slow. And I feel like a match like this should not have opened up the show. They probably would have been better served to be following the tag team matchup instead of putting the women in that scenario, because here you have two veteran guys who have been around for a long time that would be able to go out there and deal with a crowd who is somewhat, overwhelmed by the previous match, and maybe they're all going for a bathroom break right now because that was so intense. And you would put the two veteran guys out there to follow this match and give them the responsibility of bringing the crowd back up for the rest of the show after they just unleashed all that energy on the tag team match. But instead, we opened the show with this kind of slow, somewhat boring match where we had a lot of kissing going on, a lot of mouth action in this matchup. Jake Hager comes out, his wife is standing there at ringside. They don't tell us he's his wife, but I assumed it was his wife, and he went and made out with this attractive blonde who ended up being his wife. In the middle of the match, Dustin Rhodes decides he's going to take a shot at Jake Hager's wife. He goes and he plants one right on her in the middle of the match. And she was all, disgusted by it. Oh, disgusting, blah. And it didn't end there. Before this match was over, Jake Hager would lick the face of Dustin Rhodes. And I don't know why he would do that. The guy's got makeup and sweat all over the side of his face. What are you licking, bro? What are you licking? And why? I don't know. Jake Hager gets the win, which is good. It's his first match. He needed to get the win. Dustin is kind of impenetrable, just like his brother. They have their roots deep in not WWE, deep in the world of professional wrestling, because they are the sons of Dusty Rhodes. You almost can't ruin them. Like, they can put over anybody and come back from it without much damage. And Dustin Rhodes just needs a couple more wins under his belt, maybe gets a win over Jake Hager at some point in the future, and he'll be back on track. I can't even believe that he's going out there and wrestling better than half of the other 50-year-olds that we're seeing. You got a 53-year-old champion on SmackDown that can't wrestle half as good as a 50-something-year-old Dustin Rhodes. But yet the WWE let Dustin Rhodes go and did nothing with Goldust when they had him. And now you look at him here, putting on a match a decent match. It wasn't a bad match. It was just kind of slow. And not the typical way AEW kicks off its shows. And as I previously said, there was an obviously much better spot for this match. And if you put this match in that spot, it may have brought the level up for this matchup. But otherwise, it was pretty much just a match. And it was okay. What wasn't okay was the Women's Championship matchup. I did not care for this matchup. And no, it's not because Nyla Rose and all of the stuff that surrounds her being champion. And I'm not even going to go back into it. If you want to know my feelings about it, all you got to do is go watch a previous video and you can hear all of those thoughts. Because I'm just tired of fucking talking about it. It is what it is. Nyla Rose is the champ. And my criticism of this matchup is the match itself. And it's not that they had to go out and follow the tag team match, which didn't help. Definitely didn't help. But what really didn't help was that they went out there and stunk it up. They did not have good chemistry at the start of this matchup. There was one spot where Nyla Rose almost killed Chris Statlander in a very obvious botched superplex from the top rope. I don't understand the need for doing all of these things. Nyla Rose is so much bigger and stronger than the rest of the roster. She doesn't need to be doing things like that. She can get over doing simpler things. Play the giant role of the women's division. You don't have to do superplexes and power bombs from top ropes and crazy things of that nature. This match, much like Hagar and Rhodes, was very slow, very boring, very sloppy. Not just for that one botch moment, but for the majority of the match. It was just very sloppy, and the commentators knew it as they kept trying to help Chris Statlander by telling us how she's had the flu recently. She's sick. What is with all the broads in AEW being sick? Baker was sick. That was an excuse for her having a shit match. Now we got this one is sick. And that's why she's not doing well tonight against Nyla Rose. She's an alien. How did she get the flu? She has the same genetic makeup as the rest of the humans, right? But she's supposed to be an alien, but she got the flu. Great. Was it the coronavirus? Hopefully she don't have the coronavirus. Holy shit, imagine that. She's sitting there dying of the virus, and she's out there having a fucking match with Nyla Rose. Let's hope not. Maybe getting a little out of hand with that, but hey, listen. That's what they're saying right now, right? Oh, if you got the flu or symptoms of the flu or you got the common cold, you might have the coronavirus. Oh my God. I don't know. But that's what it made me think of. All night long they're telling us, oh, Chris Statlander is sick. She recently had the flu. This is a reason for her not beating Nyla. Oh my God, I do that shit all the time. I always want to call Nyla Rose Nia Jax, and I don't know why. I don't know why my brain does that to me. Makes me nuts. I don't want to do it. But it happens. I try so hard to make it not happen. Anyway, it's uneventful, unimportant, unnecessary matchup. Nyla Rose remains your champion. As you probably assumed would happen, as many people assumed would happen. And that was it for the women on this evening. Nothing to go back and really watch. Maybe if any of the things on this night, that women's matchup gets the poop hammer. And I didn't want to give the poop hammer to anything tonight, because this was an excellent show. But if we're being honest, you got botched spots, you got slowness, you got a disinterested crowd, and credit to them, they got the crowd kind of into it towards the end, but this match again was a little bit too long, needed to wrap up a little bit quicker, and they need to tone it down. This way the girls don't end up killing each other. And then the heavyweight championship of the world, another match that a lot of people are going to be saying a lot of things about, and it's going to be ranging from this was great to this was garbage. And I fall right into the middle. The right man won. I liked the swerve of Jon Moxley not actually being blind after all these weeks, and that he just got one over on Chris Jericho again. This main event was a little bit long as well. The first half of this matchup not as interesting as the second half of the matchup. We all knew that the Inner Circle was going to get involved. They tried their best to keep their champion on top, but it was to no avail. Jon Moxley ends up being crowned the new AEW champion, the second in the company's history, and where we go from here is a very interesting scenario. Are they going to continue with a rematch for Jericho? Is he going to continue taking on further members of the Inner Circle? Or are they going to move him on to maybe a guy like an MJF, who we are going to talk about in just a moment with his match up with Cody Rhodes? But this championship matchup, much like the rest of the matchups on this night, was evenly paced. It was fine. It was kind of boring at times, if I'm being honest. Jericho in the ring can't be Jericho that I know. And to me, he's just lost a step, like a half step. And he's doing the best he can, I guess. And I'm not trying to shit all over the match just for the sake of it. But as I'm watching, it's very obvious to me that Chris Jericho is not what he was. And that this was probably the best time for him to hand over the championship to a younger, better, more popular, with the current generation anyway, superstar in Jon Moxley. Everything about this matchup was just fine. It just, as the main event, it definitely did not beat the tag team championship as far as pops of the night. And this was Jon Moxley being crowned champion, and it did not have that same elevated feel as the finish of the tag team matchup. And when your biggest pop of the night doesn't happen in the final match of the night, then you're kind of doing something a little bit wrong. But not that wrong, because at the end of the day, we got the right result, and we got a decent championship matchup to end the show. But the thing that most people, I think, will be talking about will be Cody Rhodes versus MJF, and probably not for all the best reasons. This match did not live up to the hype that I expected it to live up to. With all of the build behind it, the first half of this matchup, much like the rest, was a slow, boring affair, kind of like a very wrestling-oriented matchup, and you would think with all of the heat being brought into this matchup that they were going to come out guns blazing. And there was a little bit too much outside shenanigans for my personal taste. I don't know what the hell Brandy Rhodes is thinking, throwing herself at a guy the size of Wardlow. Did she really think she was going to take him down? And then Cody Rhodes is standing there yelling at him, "Don't you dare, you better put her down." And then Wardlow just puts it down. Okay, sure, I'll put it down. This leads to Cody Rhodes accidentally hitting Arn Anderson. And none of this would end up playing out into the finish, so it was all just unnecessary filler and giving MJF enough time to do the deed and slice himself open so that he could be bleeding for the second half of this matchup. A little bit too obvious, if you ask me. But not everybody watches wrestling with my eyes. So maybe you guys didn't notice it. But now, I let you in on a little bit of secret right there. So, the second half of this matchup, much better than the first half. It picked up a little bit. And once again, the right man won. I know everybody wanted Cody to get his vengeance here. A measure of comeuppance, since he's been so brutally just shit on by MJF in the lead up to this matchup. But this was the best thing they could do. Cody Rhodes is bulletproof, much like his brother and much like most of the elite. And they could take a loss without it really affecting them. What he did tonight was cement MJF as the top heel in the company. Maybe MJF moves away from Cody Rhodes and sets his sights on Jon Moxley right now, and maybe that's the future. Maybe not. Maybe they continue this personal grudge match with Cody Rhodes for a couple of more months, leading it into Double or Nothing. That's very possible as well, and they could blow it off there and then move MJF and Cody Rhodes off in different directions. But as of right now, I'm loving everything about the feud. I'm loving the story that they are telling, but this, to me, was not your typical Cody Rhodes match. It was not as exciting as you usually get into it. There was the spot with the broken foot, which seemed very WWE to me. MJF removes Cody Rhodes' boot, starts biting on his foot. He biting a broken toe. How does a man continue with a match after having his broken toe bitten on? Like, it's a little much. We didn't need any of that. But the finish of this match, I guess, was just fine. MJF ending up cheating to win. But once again, you seen Cody Rhodes had this match pretty much won. Cody Rhodes hits the Crossroads successfully, does not follow it up with a pin, hits a second one, does not follow that up with the pin, decides to get greedy, wants to go for a third one, and then MJF reverses, counters, and ends up winning the matchup after he punches Cody Rhodes in the face with the Dynamite Diamond Ring that was slipped to him by Wardlow. And I'm saying if you got hit with 2 Crossroads, which is Cody Rhodes' endgame move, you're supposed to not, the match is over when he hits that, and he hit it twice. How is MJF delivering a knee to Cody? How is he coming out of that? Those type of bookings and the way they don't protect the maneuvers is just ludicrous to me. I had the same criticism of the tag team matchup. You keep hitting your V-triggers and you keep hitting your buckshots and you're not winning matches with them. They're supposed to be the at least the setup to the finish of the match. And I would do the same thing. It's like if we watch Roman Reigns. What happens when you watch Roman Reigns? You see Superman punch after Superman punch after Superman punch. At some point, it's like, why do you keep hitting that if it's not effective? And everybody reacts to it. Oh, Superman punch. Oh, V-trigger. The V-trigger is not effective. You can't win with a V-trigger. You can't win by doing the same move over and over and over again. Stop doing the move. It's one of my biggest pet peeves here. And now here you have the man's finish. Cody Rhodes hit twice. Clean, solid, beautifully executed. MJF should be unconscious. But he goes for a third one, and MJF finds enough to dig deep and not feel the effects of 2 Crossroads. That kind of shit bothers me. It just does. And it brings the match quality down. Just a little, but it does. This was not what I expected it to be. I definitely thought this was going to be an all-out bloodbath between these two, just throwing punches and really making it more of a fight than a wrestling match, which it did kind of devolve into towards the end, but I feel like it should have just been mostly that. With all of the hatred and everything that was done and the 10 lashings and the cage match and all of the things that have been said, there should have been a lot more intensity right from the get-go in this match. And maybe it's a case of they knew they weren't going to be able to follow that tag match, so maybe they dialed it back and they're going to save what maybe they were going to do big here for another match where maybe they won't get overshadowed by an amazing tag team matchup. And ladies and gentlemen, that was your AEW Revolution review and reaction show. It was a great night of wrestling. As always, the whole purpose of my show is to tell you what this wrestling show did wrong. So I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't outline the things about the show that bothered me. But that doesn't mean it was a bad show. This, in fact, is the exact opposite of Super Shitdown. One of the worst, most poorly booked and executed pay-per-views ever. This is the complete opposite end of the spectrum. This pay-per-view was put together great. It was for the first outing in AEW on pay-per-view this year, it set the bar. It set the bar for them to have to at least hit or go over. And it's a pretty damn high bar to set. There was a lot of moments on this night where I had that same feeling that I would get watching NXT TakeOver, where the matches were just so intense and so much going on in them that my words wouldn't even do them justice. If you missed Revolution, you have got to check it out. Look for the highlights on YouTube. Go buy it. It's worth the $50. It really is. If there's any show this year that has been worth the money that I paid for it, it would be that one. Fantastic. Really, really good stuff. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on the channel today. Don't forget, if you missed all the bad stuff, and my show, this show is always a whole lot better when the wrestling product is as negative and as bad as it's been on SmackDown and at the Super Shitdown. So I encourage all of you to go and check out those reviews if you want to have a good laugh and find some way to get yourself to enjoy both of those shows, because you won't enjoy SmackDown or Super Shitdown or even Monday Night Raw if you watch it themselves, but you will enjoy it if you watch me tell you exactly everything wrong with each and every one of those shows. And in order to not miss anything, all you have to do is be a subscriber. Hit that subscribe button right now. Hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a thing as we continue to bring the hammer down on the world of professional wrestling, one wrestling show at a time. Don't forget to hit that like button if I made you laugh, if I made you cry, if I made you understand why some of the things on this show were wrong, but for the most part, as we said, 100%, this was a good show. Smash that thumbs up for me. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments section below. I want to know what you thought about this show. Let me know what your favorite match was. If you missed the poll, you can go and take that, which is up on the community section of this channel right now. And don't forget to share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if they missed AEW and need to catch up on what was going on and need to know what was worth watching and what needs to still have a little bit of work. Thank you all so very much. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the Team Thor, the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue, the Snowball Microphone. The most important member of the team, as always, is each and every one of you. That is going to do it, and we are out of here. And we will see you next time, right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com.